Welcome to the Hastings Shadmehry Show.
I'm Andy Hastings.
And I'm Mallie Shadmehry.
Together, we own Hastings Shadmehry, an Atlanta-based law firm specializing in family law.
This is a space where we talk all things family law and all topics that touch the area of family law, from divorce to custody to self-growth, personal empowerment, and more. We bring you the truth, from our wolf pack to yours. Hello, and welcome to the Hastings Shadmehry Show. Mallie Shadmehry here. You get a solo episode today, and forgive me in advance, because I am a rambler, and I'm a thinker out louder, and I'm so excited to think things through with y'all today. We are going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is what to do when you're unhappy with your current lawyer. I have been having a lot of consultations with some amazing new and potentially new clients lately, and it's just a common theme for me that people are coming to me and saying, I am at my wit's end. I'm not happy with my current lawyer. I want to talk to you. Essentially, they're getting a second opinion. So we're going to talk about what to do to identify these problems and how to fix this, because it will save you money and heartache in the long run if you listen to this advice. So before we get to the topic, I'll share with you guys a few updates. First of all, we've been off on our cadence for posting new podcasts lately. We've been posting some old episodes that we felt were really amazing. That's just because Andy and I have been in trial. We have been in trials, mediations, and just thriving over here in the firm. But that's part of the struggle, being a lawyer, a business owner, and a podcaster. Kind of hard to do all the things. So that's where we've been. Andy is not with me today because she is in trial prep. She's got a big trial on Monday, and we're so excited for her. She's killing it. We love our client. The wolf pack is going strong. Okay, so I get to ask myself, Mallie Shadmehry, do you feel like a warrior or a diplomat today? And I'm definitely a diplomat. I'm a diplomat because I have to be, out of necessity at the moment. Just life has been throwing things my way. And I really I'm an optimistic person, definitely a glass half full kind of lady, but it doesn't mean that sometimes I start to be a glass half empty kind of lady. Little things. My car broke down unexpectedly, and let me tell you, I might be an expert at family law and in the courtroom, and I know it like the back of my hand. But there's a lot of things in life where I am a 4-year-old little kid, and the car shopping and the car problems, that's one of them. So that was disastrous. However, my dad, Namat Shadmehry, shout out, Namatola, we love you. Fun fact, Andy and I both are daddy's girls. And mommy's girls, we love you too, but dads, you're where it's at. And my dad guided me through this process, shopped with me. He's fabulous. I ended up getting a great new vehicle, new dog mom car, and let me tell you, my dogs love it already. They already own it, and I'm over here scrambling, trying to keep it clean and already failing at it. But it wasn't just the car. I'm busy. We've got a lot of cases. I need to keep my head down. We had a new lawyer join the firm, Brianna. We are so excited for you guys to meet her too. She just passed the bar. So we've been getting her all in order and getting her introduced to her cases. A lot of fun things going on here. And you know what? I am self-conscious today about my nails. I'm going to talk to you about it. I was going to get these brown, beautiful fall nails. Got them. They looked brown in the nail salon, and now in every light, they look orange, like pumpkins. Judge me all you want. I agree with you. They look like crap. Just wanted to state that for the record. So I'm going to go get them done soon. And I have court on Monday as well. So we're in a diplomatic mindset. We're not a warrior. We're staying focused. We're trying to find solutions to problems and not panic. That's my updates, and I'm going to dive into our issue. What to do when you're unhappy with your lawyer. So what happens with me, what I see a lot lately is clients, we sit down for a consultation and they say, my case has been going on for a while. On average, what I see, these cases have been going on longer, a year, 2 years sometimes. And these people will come to me and say, I am unhappy for a laundry list of reasons. And I have thought about this, and typically when I'm categorizing the reasons I see that people are unhappy with their lawyers, it really comes down to 3 areas. It's either how the lawyer and their team is communicating or not communicating, or number 2, the strategy. The clients don't feel safe with the strategy. They don't feel like they're getting advocated for. Or number 3, it's the performance of their lawyer. They've unfortunately maybe seen their lawyer perform poorly in court, and they want to talk to me about that. So from my perspective, when I sit down with a client that's coming to me to basically complain about their lawyer, I always get a full history of the case. We talk through it as though they've I'm hearing this for the first time. I don't know anything about their case. And I tell them from the get-go, I say, look, I am never going to talk badly about another lawyer to you. These are people in my industry, and it's not professional to do that. Anytime I go against another lawyer, which is all the time, I always have an opposing counsel. I want to treat them with the utmost respect, and I want to prepare like they're going to be just as prepared as I am. Even if I know from experience that that lawyer might not bring the best quality to the table when we go to court or whatever, I'm just going to assume that was an off day and that moving forward, they're always going to be on point like we are. So I want to go ahead and warn everybody now, when and if you're talking to a new lawyer to complain about your current lawyer, you really do need to be looking for a lawyer that's classy about it. If you start to hear a lawyer just talking smack about other lawyers out there, that should be a red flag to you. You want someone that's going to listen carefully, and I come at these consultations with the mindset of, I want to assume your lawyer is trying to do the best job possible, because I'm not here to try to get more business. I'm not. And I think it's normal for people to assume lawyers, car salesmen. I was just dealing with car salesmen, and I found myself being very defensive towards them. I didn't want to trust them. They really had to earn my trust because I'm not familiar with that industry. And so I feel like some of my clients or people that come consult with me, they struggle with that too. You're not a regular in the industry like I am. And so you want to look for somebody that's going to give you a calming demeanor and is just going to be a listening ear. So I sit down, we go through what's gone on in the case. I ask lots of questions. And my goal is actually usually if there's a way to preserve the relationship with the previous lawyer, and I think that client looks like the case isn't ruined. Sometimes I've seen it where the case really does need a fresh set of eyes and needs a more aggressive advocate. But that's not what I go into these thinking. My goal is, what can we do to preserve the previous lawyer? Because the bottom line is, if you're going to move lawyers, especially if your case has been going on for a little while, you are going to be spending extra money that you didn't have to spend if you could stay with your original lawyer. You're going to hire a new lawyer. You're already paying for a consultation, and you are going to have to pay for the lawyer and their team to get all the documents from your previous lawyer. And we could talk about that on another episode. What happens when a new lawyer takes over the case? What does that look like? There's a process. Your new lawyer will handle it, but you're paying a lot of money for us to get everything from the old lawyer, download all this information into our heads. You're paying a whole new legal team to do work that really your other lawyer should have already done, and then pick up and keep moving. So judges typically are going to notice too if you switch lawyers during a case. That's just the harsh reality. And you need a lawyer that can address that with you too. You have to look at that avenue. Does this look poorly on me? Because unfortunately, there is a negative connotation affiliated with people in divorces or any kind of family law case, custody, what have you. And I would presume probably any kind of case, but I can only speak to family law. That's what I do. There's a negative connotation affiliated with people that switch lawyers multiple times throughout a case. Switching lawyers one time throughout a case, relatively normal, if you will. It happens probably in about 50% of my cases. But when you start seeing people switch lawyers 3-4 times, it starts to create the impression that maybe the client is the problem. And that might be a hard thing to hear, but you need to hear it. You have to be careful. You have to choose wisely who you work with from the get-go. So, because you've heard us talk about this before, when you're not feeling advocated for, you're not feeling good communication from your lawyer, you're feeling icky about your lawyer, you got the ick, that is something you have to pay attention to. Do not ignore that. It's going to create further resentment in you towards your lawyer, distrust between you and your lawyer. You're not going to want to pay your bill. It's an unhappy environment. And this really just goes to communication skills. And this is tough because if you're coming out, especially of an abusive situation, and a lot of you are, or what have you, or just even if it's not abusive in any way, divorce is still very difficult. And to now know you've got to go use communication and human skills with your lawyer when you've already come out of something disastrous with your ex or whatever is going on. You're having most likely communication issues with your ex. Now you got to go deal with it with your lawyer. That sucks. It does. But if you can listen to my advice, this will help you navigate that, because guess what? Lawyers aren't perfect. We are so human. We are humans just like you. Most of us didn't go to business school. Most of us don't have degrees in psychology or communications. We don't know how to be great communicators. In fact, from the lawyer's perspective, we are run down, and we are going balls to the wall, minute after minute, go, 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 go. There is not room to breathe when you have a lawyer that's in high demand. We are intense, and we are invested in what we're doing, but we're going from one thing to another, to another, to another. And when humans are under a lot of pressure like that, in a courtroom attorney, same thing. And this is, I'm defending the lawyers here for a moment, but hear me out, because you're gonna have to understand the perspective on a good lawyer's side as well. Is we may have no clue that you're feeling this way, first of all. We may have no clue that you're feeling the distrust or you're feeling that the performance wasn't great, and it is your duty as the client to communicate that and do so sooner than later so that your lawyer can take that into account, absorb it, and course correct. That happens all the time. That's called being human. So a good lawyer, and one that does have some people skills and has put work into their ability to be a leader and be a public servant and make our clients feel safe. These lawyers, they want to be receptive when you talk to them, okay? Because I will not lie. I have had clients say, Mally, I need to talk to you. I'm feeling uncomfortable. And I say, absolutely, let's talk about it. And it can be anything under the sun. It'll be about their bill. It'll be about whatever. I'm uncomfortable. It feels like we're not getting enough progress. And in my mind, I'll be like, oh, but there's no more that we can do, and here's why. But I wouldn't have known they were feeling like that unless they talked to me. And I have these phone calls with my clients or meetings, whatever, when they ask for it, and they go so well. And I always feel like my clients and I leave those conversations on the same page, breathing easier, because I am a listener. I listen and I say, oh my gosh, I thank you so much for sharing this with me. I'm listening. And I think that when you hire your lawyer, you think they're this fierce go-getter, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, we are here to serve you. So what I always say to my clients is, it might appear on the outside that I'm going for the jugular and I'm going to see you in court. Like, I get that's a lot of people want a lawyer that's going to act like that. But behind closed doors, I'm a teddy bear. I am mama bear for my clients, and it hurts my heart, truly, when they're not comfortable. So that's a little bit of the mindset that I want y'all to be thinking about. Don't be intimidated to talk to your lawyer. And guess what else? This is a big tidbit I want you to keep in your back pocket. If you do ask for a talk with your lawyer on these uncomfortable things that you want to talk about, and you're getting a lot of defensiveness and pushback, it's one thing for a lawyer to say, no, let me challenge you on this just a little bit and do it in a nice workmanlike way. But it's another thing altogether, which I have heard of from clients that come to me, of a lawyer just being straight up mean, being defensive, not willing to address things with you. That's a problem. And that does show, who knows what the issues are, emotional immaturity, or they're so stressed that they just can't balance all this. That might be the reality too. So keep that in mind. So I told you, there could be 3 areas from what I see where you're wanting to complain about your lawyer. It's communication's not good with you and your lawyer, and or strategy's not good, or number 3, performance. So let's talk quickly about communication. A lot of my people that come to me and they're unhappy with their current lawyer, they don't come out and say it clearly to me, but from me figuring it out through context, I'll say, it sounds like you just want better communication from your lawyer. And it'll be like, I go weeks without talking to my lawyer, or I have to email them and see what's going on. And I would rather be receiving proactive advice rather than reactive. I don't want to have to reach out to my lawyer and say what's going on. I want them to say, hey, here's what's going on. We're going to keep it moving. And I totally get that, because I'm that kind of person as well. If I'm working with people and I'm trusting them, I really, really, really don't want to have to say, are you doing this? What's going on? You want your people to come to you and say, here's what's going on. I know you're stressed. We've got it. And in your situation, you might just need a little more hand-holding, but trust me, your lawyer might not know that. Some of the time, if you're having to reach out to your lawyer, that might be a red flag, but it also might be a situation where you need to say, I would like to talk and establish some communication boundaries and parameters. And I have had clients that do this with me. And they say, you could say, I really would like for y'all to be updating me weekly. I would really like to have a standing phone call with you where I can get updates, because with what I'm going through, it's causing me not to trust you. You have to be honest about it. And I know that that's hard when you probably haven't been able to do that in your relationship, and that's why you're getting a divorce, or you're having co-parenting issues, or whatever's going on. And you're having to do this with your lawyer is a necessity, though. It's in order to save you money, because remember what I've taught y'all along the way. A good family law attorney, we bridge the gap from emotion to business. We help make business decisions. We want to save you money, believe it or not. The good ones do. We need to get you out of this efficiently. So to do that, you're going to have to address what's making you uncomfortable, what's giving you the ick. So these communication things, you need regular contact from your lawyer. Let them know. Some people don't want that. Some people are like, do not contact me anymore, because I don't want you to bill me, because you get billed when your lawyer contacts you. But a lack of communication, it doesn't mean your lawyer doesn't care about you. It could mean one of many things. They could be extremely busy in court, and if you hire a great lawyer, they're going to be in high demand. They're going to be. You need to establish a great relationship with your paralegal on your case. They are the ones that are in the office more, and they should be the ones, at least at our firm, that are helping you when the lawyer's not available. They're kind of the first line of attack. They bill at a lower hourly rate. That's for a reason. You can bring more concerns to them. At our firm, for example, we're meeting all the time on all of your cases. And when my clients have a problem and they've come to one of my paralegals, my paralegals are going to tell me that, or the associate on the case, they're going to tell them that, and we're going to handle it. So don't be afraid to say, hey, paralegal, I really need to talk to so-and-so, or bring up your concerns to the paralegal and see if they can help ease you into a conversation with the lawyer. Use all the resources at the firm to do that. But don't immediately, this is one of the problems that I see, and this is human nature in general, and I do it myself. When you're in a state of stress, you start to make up your own negative narratives about what's going on with the people around you, even though those people might really care about you. And unless you talk to that person about it, those negative narratives are going to get worse and worse and worse in your head. It's going to create resentment. And again, I do it too. That's why I know how to coach you on this. I know how to not do it, and it's hard. But try not to just jump to the conclusion that your lawyer sucks, that they don't want to help you, that they just want your money, that they're too busy for you. That's probably not the case. And you're never going to have a lawyer that's going to be able to give you 24/7 attention at all times. You're just not. There are ebbs and flows, and you're going to have to get used to that. So on the communication piece, if you're feeling like you're not getting the communication you need to articulate with your lawyer, here's some parameters I'd like. Can we establish a protocol together of what makes me comfortable in my case? And I would say if you have a lawyer that's giving you pushback on that, I would have a problem with that. You should get the kind of service that makes you feel comfortable as far as communication. And if your lawyer is not willing to work with you on that, it is probably time to start looking at other firms and talking to them about this issue and saying, whatever's gone on in my case is whatever. Here's where the case stands, but I'm having a problem with the communication. If I would have just had better communication outright from the get-go, I would have been better off. And I have found that sometimes communication styles of lawyers are just not going to work for certain people. I consulted with someone recently that was the case. And I actually said, this lawyer is great reputation. They're doing good work for you. I'm giving you the same advice as they're giving you. I might have some creative little loopholes here and there, but overall, we are giving you the same advice. And what it came down to was she just liked how I communicated better, and I made her feel safer. So it's just something to think about. Not the end of the world, but it's worth having a conversation with your lawyer before you just have this, oh, we're done mentality. All right, so the second component of sort of why I see people unhappy with their lawyers, they're unhappy with the strategy in the case. This one's a little more broad. It has to do with I feel like we're not having momentum in my case. I see that one a lot. I feel like we're not being as aggressive as we could. Sometimes it's people saying, I want to create the fear of God in the other party, and my lawyer's not doing that. I want that closure. And our jobs as lawyers is typically to help tone that down. The more emotion you bring into the case, the more money you're going to spend and the poorer decisions you're going to make. So a good, responsible family law attorney, we're going to bring that down a notch. But some people do. They want that fire and they want that show, and they're just not getting that. And that kind of goes to the performance piece, which I'm talking about last. But the strategy piece, that one really is important. I would say a lot of times what I hear is that people are confused about the strategy, and that's the number one problem. If you are not understanding what the approach is and you want it, some people don't want to understand what the approach is. They want to say, let me go travel the world and do my business. I'm a busy person. Let my lawyer just handle it. And honestly, I would probably be that kind of client. I get that. I appreciate that in a client, and I appreciate that kind of trust. But you have to be very careful about the kind of lawyer you pick that's going to do that. If you want to be hands-off, make sure you have a lawyer that's going to be updating you regularly and all of that. And anyway, I think with the strategy piece, that just comes to good communication. Family law is not rocket science. It's not. So you should understand clearly what the strategy is in your case and why, if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. But if you do and you're feeling like you're not getting answers, I am finding that might mean that your lawyer doesn't really know what the strategy is, or they're confused about their own strategy, or they're not feeling confident in the strategy. It's a bit of a red flag. I can't diagnose that with a client on a one-to-one really right at first, but I start to get that taste in my mouth. When a client is telling me, I'm just not understanding what's going on, we're losing momentum, I feel like the other side's got momentum, I'm confused. Red flag. You should not feel confused in your case. You might feel confused sometimes, and you need your lawyer to reiterate what's the plan. I always like to put in I talk to my clients on the phone, and I like to put in writing as well. Okay, here's what we talked about, because I know in your moments of stress, the things we talk about may go right out of your head, and it will help to have an outline in writing as well. So just think about that. If you've asked for clarification and you're still feeling like there's no momentum, we're just moving in the same circular pattern here, what's going on, that is a red flag. And it can indicate that the lawyer may be in over their head, but we don't want to jump in assuming that. Again, this is where I'm going to direct you to talk to your lawyer before you develop this mindset that it's the end of the world. So I can't give you really any other big strategy examples in family law. Those are things that I would have to diagnose at a consultation with someone, and I'll get into what are the issues in the case and what is your understanding of what the plan is, and then I can weigh in on does that sound right or not. And sometimes, although it's pretty rare, I will tell you, I say, oh my gosh, that's the wrong strategy. That's not what the law is. That happens to me maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Maybe, which doesn't mean much to you guys because you don't know how many times I'm consulting with people. I would say very rarely, very, very rarely, people are coming to me and telling me their lawyers are telling them things that are not true under the law. So that's probably not the case. Your lawyer probably does know what they're doing. It's just either they're so busy, they're not keeping momentum, or they're not communicating well with you. So I wouldn't worry too much about a lawyer just having a terrible strategy and not knowing the law. But if that really is happening, that's why you have to get a second opinion from a highly specialized family law attorney, not somebody that's cheap, unfortunately. You're going to have to bring in a bigger dog to say, let me really get in here and double check the work. Be very careful about that. Don't go to another low quality person if that's what you think you have to double check the work on the other side. You're going to have to pay for what you get at that point. And the third one, I do hear a lot. This one and a lack of communication or bad communicating with the lawyer is the one I hear complaints about the most, is poor performance in court, especially court, sometimes mediation too. But so court trials, hearings, and mediations are in family law 2 of the biggest ways you're going to see your lawyer actually performing with other lawyers and in front of you. Sometimes depositions, maybe a phone call or something with other lawyers, but it's usually hearings and mediations. That's what you're paying. You're sitting there watching your lawyer perform for you. Your lawyer gets to be your voice to the world under the law. You want to see someone that's advocating for you and makes you feel like, okay, they gave me a voice in this courtroom and they've represented me how I feel is appropriate for myself. And if I were in your shoes, I would feel the same way. I'd be like, holy crap, I'm giving you access to all of my stuff, my biggest vulnerabilities, my weaknesses, my money, my children. When we stand up in court, can you please take it seriously, and can you please deliver in a way that would do me justice? And a good lawyer, oh my goodness, we are going to take that so much to heart. It's such an honor to do that. And frankly, you should feel like your lawyer treats it that way. You should. To me, if you are in a situation where you feel like, oof, I didn't like the performance, that is something to talk about. It just is. A good performance in court is going to let you leave the situation feeling like, okay, I got advocated for. Doesn't mean you're going to get every result that you wanted, because that's in a judge's hands, at least in court. If you're mediating, it's a settlement thing. That's kind of a different topic. But, you can't guarantee what a judge is going to do. But what I always say to my clients is what I can guarantee is I will fight for you like I would need someone to fight for me. And I will come to the table as prepared as I possibly can be and deliver to the very best of my ability. And then it's in the judge's hands. So don't gauge results on poor performance and results. Yes, they can be correlated, but it's not the end all be all. So it's worth a conversation is what I'm saying. It just varies on what your expectations are about a lawyer when you go to court. I've had people say, we went to court, the other lawyer was so aggressive, I didn't feel like my lawyer fought for me at all. I felt like he or she was quiet in the courtroom. I feel like we just got trampled all over. Then, of course, I've heard my client or my attorney didn't even know my child's name. They got the ages wrong. They didn't pay attention to these details. And that sucks. It does. But sometimes when I get into the nitty-gritty, for example, I remember a long time ago consulting with someone, and he's saying all these things. My lawyer sucked. She was quiet in the courtroom. But I realized he had a bad case. He had some issues going on, and that would have been a very hard case to try. And what I told him, I don't remember the whole conversation, but what I remember saying, look, I think your lawyer may have been quiet in the courtroom for a reason. We can't always just come in guns a-blazing when maybe you've done some bad boy behavior yourself. There's an amount of being a charmer that has to happen in the courtroom when a client has created some problems. You got to own up to that. The problem there to me is if your lawyer was taking a more quiet approach in the courtroom for a reason, that should have been communicated to you prior to trial. There should be immense communications prior to a hearing or a mediation that allow you as the client to have an understanding of the strategy. So you can see this goes to sort of topic number 2, strategy. They kind of overlap. You should have understood, like, you messed up here. Judge isn't going to like that. Therefore, the only way I can approach these issues in court is to say, we know he messed up. We're not going to be mean about it, blah, 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 blah. And I've had to do that. And I've had great results with that. And my clients have been understanding because we planned it ahead of time. So we can't just jump to the conclusion that your lawyer sucks in court. There may have been reasons that the performance was different, but perhaps they didn't communicate well enough with you or prepare you enough in advance to be ready for that. But sometimes, and I've witnessed it in court myself, yes, sometimes certain lawyers are not good in court. And you may feel like you need court. The other side may have hired a full-on litigator, and you felt like you got trampled over. And it might be time eventually to switch lawyers because you want someone that can really go litigate or someone that knows your jurisdiction better and all those kinds of things. So again, this just goes down to probably communicating with your lawyer first about it and then maybe getting a second opinion as well, which I'll talk about briefly in just a moment. But that is a hard conversation. It really is to have to say, okay, attorney, we had our hearing. And because sometimes you do a temporary hearing or a motions hearing or something during the middle of your case, but you're still going to have to go do a final hearing later. So it's like, am I going to trust this person in court the second time when they don't have my trust right now? That's a tough position. And I'm sure it does feel very intimidating to say, now I got to talk to my lawyer about this. Oh my gosh. Me personally, I would probably want to shut down. I would be so nervous. It's very hard for me personally to come to people and say I have an issue with how this is going. Especially when I've entrusted that person. I feel like I'm a burden by doing that. That's just me being vulnerable with you. So even the fiercest of people on the outside are still very vulnerable, and it can be difficult. And it does take courage to do this, but I promise you're going to be happy you did. If you say, okay, can we have a conversation about how court went? I just want to get on the same page as we proceed in this case. And then you're going to have to be the bigger person and say, here were my concerns, whether they're right or they're wrong. This is how I feel. I felt like you weren't aggressive in court. You didn't remember my kids' names. Like, that really worries me. Like, it makes me feel like you're not taking my case seriously, and I really need the best outcome here. And then you're going to have to see, are they open to that feedback? And feedback is so hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for everybody. You're not human if that's not hard for you. And again, lawyers are just not trained in this. I'm allowed to say that because I work with them all day, every day. And unless they've put a lot of work into that part of their profession and really knowing themselves and being open to feedback and learning how to be a better communicator, it's going to be a hard conversation, and that's okay. And if they're not open to the feedback, that's a big red flag to me. That's where the problem is. They have to be willing to listen and move on from that. And if they want to give you a little bit of pushback or challenge what some of your takeaways were, that's okay, but they need to come to the table with valid reasons, like, all right, I didn't do this in court, not remembering your kids' names or things like that. If that ever happened to me, which I don't think it's ever happened, that would be my worst nightmare, but I hear it a lot. I would say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was nervous. I got up there. It was just a slip of the tongue, but that shouldn't be happening with a good quality lawyer. They need to know the facts. And to me, that does indicate maybe a lack of preparation, but it really could be nerves too. You don't know. A lot of times lawyers got to get going and then they'll flow through the hearing, okay? So all this to say there's so many different reasons that things could have gone weird in your mind, but your lawyer may have a different interpretation of it. Give them that opportunity to talk to you, okay, before you already make up your mind. And I'm telling you this to help ease your nerves if you're experiencing this as well. Give it just a moment. Take a breath. Do this convo, okay? So the solutions. I've been telling you what the solutions are throughout this, but it comes down to 2 things. Talk to your lawyer, number 1. Number 2, as a last resort, get a second opinion. Schedule a consultation with someone really, really experienced in family law. Again, do not go to a run-of-the-mill person. Don't go to a person that dabbles in family law. That's my advice. It's just, you at this point, when you've already had a lawyer handling your case and you're feeling uncomfortable, you really do, you're going to have to pay for the next opinion and really be ready to get some good quality and someone who's really going to come in from a mature standpoint, someone who's already got probably a very strong book of business. They're in high demand. They're not here to they're thirsty for your case. They literally are here because they want what's best for you. You're going to want a straight shooter, and you can tell them that. Like, I'm not here for you to try to sell me on your firm. I'm here for you to hear this neutrally, tell me what you think, and we'll go from there. And be prepared to just give if you do the second opinion, I would do that as a last resort. I have plenty of people that come to me for a second opinion, and I actually coach them on what to do, on how to have this conversation with their current lawyer. And I love to do that, but part of that's not legal advice. Part of that is just human advice like I'm giving y'all today. Like, okay, I know it's uncomfortable, but go talk to them, and here's blah, blah, blah. But you can use it as a coaching session, and you never have to tell anyone. You don't have to tell your lawyer you met with someone else. Just set up the consult, come in and meet, and, be ready for this lawyer to possibly coach you on how to go talk to your previous lawyer. And you can come into it and tell them that. Like, might need a little coaching on how to address this with my lawyer and or a second opinion in general. Can you do a double check on the quality of this work for me? Let's talk about it. And then maybe coach me on how to talk to my lawyer if that's what I want to do. Or you may have said, I'm done with the lawyer. And that's okay too. So the second opinion approach, it could happen after you talk to your lawyer or before. And do come prepared for this second opinion consultation that you're going to do with a new lawyer. Come prepared. Get your bullet points down. Here's the history of my case, what my lawyer's done, and here are my issues and what I think I'm feeling here. What would you do in this situation? And be prepared to talk about the cost. You're going to be having added costs that you wouldn't have if you kept your current lawyer. So that's what I get into in a lot of these consultations. I'll say, look, I get involved based on your case and what you're telling me. We're going to spend probably around this just to get caught up to speed. And then to go, whatever, correct things, get you to a hearing, we're going to spend this. Whereas if you just kept your lawyer, they've already got the information in their head, all of your stuff, because it's not just me learning the information when you come over here and jump ship from another lawyer and come to me. You're spending a lot of money for my whole team to organize your file, save things properly. You get billed for all of that. And we're very perfectionist over here about that. And you'll be thankful for that when it comes to trial. Organization leads to success, and you're paying for that. So it's not just a lawyer absorbing things easy peasy. It is a whole team organizing documents, saving them, printing things how we like, getting the whole file situated, initial communications with you and the whole team, getting in touch with the opposing counsel, starting to build a rapport with your opposing counsel that your other lawyers should have been already building. Although if you have a guardian ad litem involved, we have to get involved with them and start to develop rapport. It's a whole thing. It's not cut and dry at all. And so typically, the only reason I tell people, like, it's probably time you consider hiring someone else is if I do feel like the strategy has really, potentially damaged this person and their well-being, some bad decisions were made, or maybe the lawyer looks like they're just too in over their head. I'll always be honest about that. And you need to feel very comfortable with who you're going to and be a straight shooter and be ready for the good quality lawyers out there to say, look, let's weigh your options. You can keep that lawyer or come to me. Another thing is I started by saying, I don't talk crap about other lawyers. I don't, but I may know who in the industry has a reputation for this or that and whether that be a good fit for this person or not. Family law is a small world, and that's okay. But we're professionals. We're all going to know each other. We want to be pleasant. That's what you want in a good lawyer. With that said, I will always give a little guidance on what I might know about a lawyer without being rude or putting this person down about their reputation. I just don't expect and do see it as a red flag. If another lawyer comes into the mix and starts to talk really poorly about another lawyer, they can give you valid information from a consumer standpoint, things you've probably already seen on reviews online yourself. But you don't want to walk into a situation where a lawyer is just, yes, come over here. This is crazy. I'm going to guarantee you new results, all that. No, that's like going to a car salesman who's throwing a lemon in my face, and it's going to fail. You want someone that's going to be very reasoned and honestly is maybe not appearing that they want to jump into this. They want to really weigh it out. And I'll leave you with somebody I consulted with. I'll never forget it. She's like, wow, you gave the same advice that my current lawyer does. I just feel so much more comfortable in your presence. And I'll pay for that. I want to move because I'll pay for that. And I would just want to give you that too. Like, that's okay too. You need and you deserve to feel like you've picked a lawyer, and if you have the resources to pay for that. I know it's hard. You don't always get that luxury, but if you can, you do deserve to be with somebody that makes you leave every conversation feeling heard, feeling validated, and not only that what y'all talked about and what are the improvements that need to be made, you need to see those improvements. Actions speak louder than words. So they can tell you they're going to do these things, and as long as you're going to see the actions that result from it, that's what you need to be looking for. And if you have that conversation with your current lawyer and the actions still remain the same, things aren't changing, that's your answer. Time to go hire elsewhere. So with that, I will shut up. I wish you the best. I'm hurting for you all if you're going through something, but we're here. We're here to be your resource. Hang in there. Hope everybody's doing well. Please find us on everything. Find the podcast on Apple, YouTube, Spotify. We're on TikTok. We have an Instagram account, Facebook account. We're always doing entertaining things. We'd love for y'all to get to know us even more. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
The Hastings Shadmehry Show is a production of Hastings Shadmehry Family Law and 1066 Productions. Produced by Ned Hastings and Kendall Walker and edited by Ned Hastings.